So this next game two prediction, Kyle, I'm going to switch it over to you. What do the Clippers have to do better at other than guarding Mitchell to have a chance at winning game two?
I think I get some better production from the role players outside of Luke Kennard. Luke Kennard had a fantastic game. Was able to knock down a couple threes, but had 18 points overall. And I think you got to see Reggie Jackson step up a little bit. You got to see Marcus Morris step up a little bit. They were fantastic against Dallas in the first round of the playoffs. They stepped up when they needed to, when their backs were up against the wall. And if they get better production from those guys and get better performances from Kawhi and Paul George, specifically Paul George, because he had an abysmal game one. Paul George shot 4-17 from the field, which is not even 25%. And if you get maybe 35 or 40% from Paul George in that game, the Clippers win game one, even despite Donovan Mitchell dropping 45 on the Clippers' head. Like, that's going to be the main focus for me, just because I thought the Clippers had a very good shot to win game one and they let it slip. They just lost momentum in the second half because Donovan Mitchell just put it on him. I mean, he put his foot on the gas pedal and never let it off. So I think if you're looking at the Clippers here, they got to step up their defensive intensity a little bit. They got to get the ball out of Donovan Mitchell's hands, and they got to get it to somebody that, look, if you get it to maybe Joe Ingles or maybe Clarkson, even though Clarkson is the sixth man of the year, I would rather them beat the Clippers than Donovan Mitchell going off and scoring 45, damn near 50 points in game one like he did. And if you're looking at Utah, they got to get off to a better start because they were down 13 points at halftime. The Clippers really went on a pretty solid run to end the first half. So I think if you're Utah, you definitely got to get off to a better offensive output in the first half and just try to focus on getting the ball out of Kawhi's and Paul George's hands and allowing some role players for the Clippers to beat you, or at least take
Yeah.
a chance to beat you. Because I'd rather have Reggie Jackson or Marcus Morris or Luke Kennard go off than Kawhi dropping 40. The Dallas Mavericks learned that the hard way in game 6 of their series.
So who's your prediction?
My prediction for game 2 between the Clippers and the Jazz is I got the Clippers winning this one. I think, like I said, if they turn up the defensive intensity a little bit, they focus on Donovan Mitchell more. They may have to double him in certain defensive packages and allow some other guys, some other role players for Utah to have the chance of beating them. I'm talking about like Joe Ingles or Bogdanovich or maybe even Clarkson, just because the Clippers cannot allow Donovan Mitchell to drop another 35, 40 plus point game like he did in game one. It's just not going to work. So I think if they do that and they get better efficiency from Paul George and Kawhi Leonard, I think the Clippers get a very good shot of winning this game. And listen, if they are able to win this game, they split the series in Utah 1-1. You go back to LA with a chance to potentially go up 3-1 or 2-2. So the Clippers, this is a very good opportunity for them. And I thought that they had very, very good chances to win game one. They lost momentum in the second half, like I mentioned. I think if they're just able to maintain the momentum that they had in the first half of game one, I think they'll be fine in game two. But Utah's going to make adjustments as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if you see a better overall performance across the board from Utah's starters and role players than you did in game one, where it's just where you don't see Donovan Mitchell really kind of putting the team on his back and getting Utah a win. So it's going to be a competitive game. I think it's going to be very similar to game one. I think the Clippers win this one. I think the Clippers win this one by like 5 or 6 points.
So I'm actually going to agree and say that the Clippers probably are going to win this one as well, but I'll keep mine brief since you stole all my damn thunder. I believe it's going to be a similar series like the Mavericks series. Now, I don't know if it's going to go 7, but it does remind me of pretty much what happened in our series. Luka was going off. They had no solution. When our role players played well, we won. When they did it, we lost because obviously everybody's focalizing on the either the perimeter breakdown with Donovan Mitchell or Donovan Mitchell heating it up from the outside. I mean, if you really look at it, aside from the assist numbers, Donovan Mitchell and Luka Doncic are relatively the same. in terms of player efficiency, just because Donovan Mitchell puts up a lot of volume of shots as well as Luka Doncic. And when he's hot from outside, he does tend to be a shooter, but when he's not, he drives it to the basket and then he gets his other teammates involved. Now, the difference is Donovan Mitchell can hit free throws. So I would say that the Clippers more than likely have a formula to win, and that is probably going to be, if it's going to be one person to beat us versus the entire team, we have to find a way to make sure that the other players aren't going to tee off. Donovan's going to get his looks. Donovan's going to get his shots. I don't think he's going to be as efficient at a clip of 45 a game, but I expect him to average anywhere from 30 to 35 points a game this series just because of the electrifying play he's had over the last couple of weeks, especially like rolling into the playoffs when he came back from that ankle injury. Donovan's going to get his looks, but it's like you said, it's a matter of will Bogdanovich be able to step up? Will Jordan Clarkson be able to continue his hot streak from the Sixth Man of the Year award and so on and so forth? Will Rudy Gobert continue to be the Defensive Player of the Year? Congratulations to him. I believe this is his third time winning it, or even the fourth. I don't recall exactly. So third. But I do think the Clippers win this game. I do think Kawhi Leonard steps it up. I don't necessarily see somebody on this roster that can make him struggle or, give him a hard time. Paul George, I don't know if he's going to be pandemic P or playoff George. We did see that he had moments in the Dallas series where he did look like his old self. And then there were, quarters where he disappeared. It seemed like the entirety of this last game in terms of game one, he just went cold and he disappeared. So I have the Clippers winning another close one. Like I said, I think the series is going to be relatively close the entire way. And I think they find a way to steal one in Utah in game two.